It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. All right, welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is Press for Truth Live. I am your host, Dan Dix. We're going to be here live for the next hour or so at least. We're going to be taking your questions, so be sure to get your questions in on the chat and share this link with all your friends and family. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to tweet out the link, let people know that we are in fact live. I'm going to share it out on Facebook, and I hope you will do the same. And, of course, I have joining me on the line right now our good friend Leigh Stuart, coming from the East Coast, our correspondent in Canada on the East Coast. Leigh, how are you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. I'm glad you're back. I missed you from being away for like a month.
Yes, yeah, a lot of people may not realize I was pretty much gone the whole month of June. There was, I was in Italy for Bilderberg. I went to Spokane, Washington to cover the Red Pill Expo, and then I went to Sofia, Bulgaria to put on a seminar. I was invited to speak at the Sofia Business School in Bulgaria to speak there. So yeah, I feel like I've been gone a little while. So it's good to reconnect with the audience. So let me make sure people are actually tuning in. All right, we got people watching. We're rocking here, Leigh. So be sure to get your questions into the chat, everybody. I'm going to post this on Steam It right now. And we're going to, of course, refresh that, go back and forth between the YouTube chat and the Steam It chat. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Toronto shooting that just happened over the weekend on the Danforth in Greek town of Toronto. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about the white helmets relocating from Syria into Canada, France, a few other countries. So we're going to talk about the plan there, and of course take all your questions that you have coming in on Steam It and the YouTube chat. Of course, super chats will take precedence. We of course appreciate any financial support that you can give us in that way, and yes, super chats will get will get answered right away. So without further ado, Leigh, let's keep an eye on the on the chat window here, and we'll start taking questions. But I mean, where do you want to start things off with? You know, the Toronto shooting obviously is pretty hot in the news right now. 3 people dead, two girls, I believe, an 18-year-old, a 10-year-old, and the shooter himself is dead. There's some strange things that have been popping up about this case over the last few days. Leigh, what are some of the things that you've found right now that the mainstream media outlets don't seem to be talking about?
Well, I think it's very important to address that just on July 12th, Special Forces received intel that a terrorist attack was imminent. That was just on July 12th. That was, like 11 days ago. They heard of a potential vehicle ramming attack or something like a terrorist extremist attack to a high volume or highly tourist destination area of Toronto. So that would be like the CN Tower. I know they had increased police presence at the Rogers Centre where the Foo Fighters were playing. And the Danforth is, I feel like, one of those areas. That's like, I used to go there, with my family. There's lots of cafes, lots of great restaurants, and just a really nice community to, they call it Greek Town in Toronto. And yeah, so it was just on July 12th that, that they received intel that, ISIS extremist groups were planning on launching an attack on Toronto. So
Yeah, that's right.
that's something that the mainstream media hasn't pieced together with this whole story. They're leaving it out. So
Yeah, very strange that they seem to have had an indication that something was going to be happening. And as I recall, there was heightened security even for the Foo Fighters concert at the Sky Dome. And even on the lead up to Canada Day here in Canada, there was a lot of a heightened police presence surrounding the CN Tower and things of that nature. And now, what are they? What are they saying in the city now in terms of police presence? Are they increasing it now as a result of this? And are we going to be seeing like an all-out police state in Toronto over the next week?
well, it's funny because it was even before this terrorist attack, and that's what I'm going to call it. Even though SIU and mainstream media is blaming mental health on this, there's reason to believe that this guy actually has ISIS and Al Qaeda connections. Even before this shooting, there have been signs of increased police presence in the city of Toronto. There have been several, incidents of gunplay and gang violence in Toronto that I've noticed in the media. Lots of shootings. Toronto's now higher than New York City as far as gun violence goes. That's incredible. Those are incredible numbers. And I want to also point out before this attack happened, Police Chief Saunders launched 200 more police on the streets between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. in specific areas of Toronto. So that's like, there was already 240 police roaming the streets between those times, but he increased it to 200 just on the Friday before these attacks happened on the Sunday. And then also it was just on that same Friday, the police board approved this spot shotter technology to pinpoint the location of shootings. They had just approved that on the Friday. That is that timing? Is that coincidence? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, very, very interesting timing that they would approve the technology for these machines that can basically pinpoint the location of a gunshot. But what a lot of people don't realize, Leigh, is that technology is capable of more than just that. I mean, if it's listening in on the entire city trying to pinpoint gun points, what else can it hear? What else can it pinpoint? And very, very interesting. On your point of the police presence, there's an article here. I'll put it up on the screen. Just out, Saunders wants increased overnight patrol to lead to permanent boost. Toronto's police chief said Friday that the boost in the number of police patrolling the streets that starts tonight should lead to a permanent increase in the overnight deployment. Starting at 7 p.m., 240 officers who regularly patrol Toronto will be joined by another 200 officers in an attempt to quell the spat of gun violence that has occurred this year. So it looks like they are nearly practically doubling the amount of police presence on the streets already, and the Chief Saunders is saying flat out, this isn't just going to be a trial period, like let's just do this from here on in. So boom, police state enacted.
Right. And I noticed even in that article, they mentioned the North York van attack. So once again, we're seeing, your civil liberties, are you going to give up your civil liberties for in return of safety? They always use that. They use, we'll protect you, under the guise of a surveillance state, more police. It's quite terrifying. How they can use these things. It's the problem reaction solution, or the Hegelian dialect that we've seen over and over again. But now it's like hitting close to home, which is pretty crazy to me.
And then we have this from July 12th. Leaked police memo showed potential vehicle attack threat at CN Tower. A leaked Toronto police memo states that a credible threat regarding a potential vehicle ramming attack in the area of CN Tower on Thursday, July 12th, The memo shared by numerous media outlets also includes the police's action plan to protect the area around the popular downtown destination. This is what we were talking about. Intelligence Services has not received any information regarding a specific criminal extremist threat to the city of Toronto, read the memo. However, critical infrastructure, transportation hubs, and area of large public gatherings remain as targets for lone actors and or terrorists, extremist groups, and their sympathizers who wish to stage high-profile attacks. I mean, where are they getting this from? And it is interesting that this is all been happening within the same weekend, essentially. And also interesting on that point is, it's not just confined to Toronto. There was, as I understand it, in Ottawa, a man was found with a knife trying to stab one of the Mounties, I believe. Did you hear about that one?
Yeah, there was a guy or a military serviceman who was in a ceremony, and someone with a knife just came up and tried to attack him. He was stopped before anything could happen, but he was actually arrested, and I think now he's been charged. Man, and this is like the same day as well. I think grenades were found in a park, just like in Mississauga on the same day as the shooting. I mean, it's very interesting timing, as well as, is this as a result of the open borders in Quebec and Montreal, in Ontario, where, people are just coming into the country. And then Fox News reported that there were, a whole bunch of asylum seekers that have gone missing. Trudeau has lost complete track of these asylum seekers. Fox News was reporting that the other day. We're just a mess here in Canada. Like, what? I don't know.
Yeah, and
it's crazy times.
That is something you've been following very closely. There is the influx in the Quebec border, and something that we're certainly going to continue to track. I mean, especially as these types of incidents continue to arise. Now, we don't have a motive as of yet. I believe there was going to be a press conference today. Did you happen to catch anything from the police today? They might be live right now, for all I know. But I didn't catch it today. Did you?
No, I didn't catch any information today. And a few people actually. Once they released the mass shooter's name, people were, and it was like almost 24 hours before they released his name. They were waiting for the autopsy to come out before they released his name, which is unheard of in any specific case where a mass shooting has happened, where they're waiting for the autopsy to happen before they release his name. But as soon as they release his name, of course, people are going to go look for this person's social media to find some sort of motive. And a profile on Facebook people came across that kind of aligned with the shooter's age, and there were ties to ISIS and Al-Qaeda or extremist groups, but the profile has since been scrubbed, which I find interesting, and we can't verify if that was the person that did the shooting or not, because the mainstream media and the police have not even released a photo of the shooter. We don't even know what he looks like. We have blurry camera footage from a cell phone to go off of, which is quite concerning that the police are trying to cover this up. And the family released a statement blaming a mental illness on this, while the media was covering up. There was even a suspicious package that the police had to detonate the same time as the shooting, right in that area. So there's conflicting stories going on, and Canadians aren't getting answers, which is quite concerning that they're actually trying to cover up an Islamic terrorist potential mass shooting that has potentially happened in the city, and now the police are complicit. So,
well, one thing we know for sure.
Hard to say. More questions.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt that we're going to see a clampdown on gun rights. We may see a revision of Bill C-71. We may see. Well, we're already seeing an increased police state on the streets of Toronto. But I think an increased call for gun control is something that is obviously going to take the center stage here in the mainstream media outlets as a result of this. And that's something that we have to be vocal about and speak out against, and let people know that it's not the guns that are the problem. It's that you have to go after here. In fact, if there was a legally carrying concealed carry permit holder there, perhaps the situation could have been stopped. Maybe we need more people to be armed on the streets, and then actually get to the bottom of mental health issues and the various antidepressants that people go on, and all the other factors that play into why someone would do something like that. But gun control, we have to be very leery and careful that people don't just march down that road saying, oh yeah, this and the guns and the killing. Well, no, that's not how it works statistically. That's not how things go. Some of the most heavily restricted gun zones in America have some of the worst violence. So it just statistically is proven not to work. So we got to be very careful we don't go down that road, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Mayor John Tory actually came out during the press conference after the shooting, basically saying that the only people that should be carrying guns are police. That is exactly what we don't want. Civilians should be able to protect themselves from their own government. I believe 100% that civilians should have the same concealed carry as a police officer would, just like the United States does, in order to protect themselves from their own government. Like their Second Amendment in the United States. And, gun confiscation, we're going to see, as you said, Bill C-71, that's going to be a huge clampdown. And like you said, a registered gun owner wouldn't do this. And if there was a registered gun owner there who was able to conceal carry, could have stopped this from happening or going further than it did. 12 people or 10 people getting shot is just absurd to me, and nobody was there to protect them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's something that I'm in favor of changing. Now I'm just going to jump over here to the chat and see if we do have any questions. I want to make sure we don't miss anybody, so I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Bear with me. And folks, if you do have questions, put a few big question marks there so I see it's obviously a question, and we'll get to it. A lot of comments. Somebody says, okay, they're talking to somebody else. Aren't the white hats part of Jade Helm? Says Patty 1752. Not that I am aware of. In fact, I haven't even heard the words Jade Helm, and it feels like about a year and a half or so from now ago. It's been a while since I heard of that one, but not that I know of that there's any connection there. But yeah, we can start talking about the white helmets a little bit too, Leigh, because what we're seeing right now. This was under the cover of darkness, overnight brazen plucking of hundreds of white helmet rescuers, they call them, and their family members out of Syria to Jordan through the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. And many of them are going to be relocated into Canada. And at first, this sounds like a good thing. This sounds like, okay, great, these are heroes. They're on a humanitarian mission, and they've run into some problems, and we're going to help them out. If that were all truly the case, then yeah, this would be a noble cause. But unfortunately, what we've been told about the white helmets from the mainstream media and from the various governments of the world have been a complete, utter lie. They are more of a terrorist organization than anything, and they've been caught time and time again staging events. There was the mannequin challenge where they staged an event. There was the chemical leaks where they staged events. They've been caught drugging little children, burying them underground, and then staging a video to make it look like they've just uncovered these kids that were buried in the rubble. It's unbelievable what this organization does, the Syrian Civil Defence, as they are officially called, gets away with, all under the guise of a humanitarian mission. So what do you think, Leigh, is going on behind the scenes here when it comes to relocating these white helmet so-called rescue fighters out of Syria and into Canada?
Well, I automatically think, it was the Israeli military that removed them from Syria and personally encouraged Justin Trudeau to accept these white helmets. They've been known to have ties to ISIS, and this is where the Justin Trudeau's reintegration program that he has talked about comes in handy. This is exactly, I think, what it's been building up to. And I automatically think of the 7 countries by Wesley Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Syria has been one of those countries. And I can't emphasize enough that this has been a plan for a long time, and it's coming to fruition. We're seeing a lot of talk about regime change in Iran. It's all coming together. Wesley Clark's timeline might have been off a little bit, but this has been the plan for ages. And I know you did a video on Trump and his tweets. It's all orchestrating and putting it all together in a nice little package for everything to kind of happen that way.
Yeah, totally. All right, I've got the chat window up on the screen now so people can see themselves in the video, in the chat, if you happen to get your questions in. And I'm going to scroll through, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see me doing that. Oh, no. Okay, it keeps just popping up in real time. Okay. All right, so I see some question marks here. Donald Myrtle, this is Dr. Donald from Red Pill Expo. Dear Brother Dan, isn't it true? Every nation that registered their guns, it's scrolling by too fast, that registered their guns was taken down because they knew where to get the people who was taken down. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. When you're on the registry, they know exactly where all the gun holders are specifically, and they can come and take you down. I mean, that's why I don't personally I've never ever filled out the census form. I completely am against giving up any kind of that sort of information to the government through force. If they want to voluntarily, get that from me, that's fine. But I choose not to give them any of that information myself. And you might want to do the same. What's with all the anti-white hate, though? Says Troll Not. Anti-white hate? We're not talking about. This has nothing to do with race or skin color. The white helmets is just a term that was given to the Syrian Civil Defence group there in Syria. So it has nothing to do with race. Not sure what you're talking about there. Okay, let me hop on to Steam It. And in case you can't tell, my little guy here, Kaiser Sose, is getting a little rambunctious. So I'm going to bring him up to say hi to everybody. This is Kaiser. He's our little 3-year-old Havanese. And he feels like playing right now, so yeah, don't mind him. Okay, I'm gonna refresh the Steam It. By the way, guys, if you're not on Steam It, I would highly encourage you to check it out. Steamit.com/@pressfortruth and Steamit.com/@Leigh Stewie. We're both on there. You should be on there too. It's a great way to support content creators. By giving them cryptocurrency generated by the website, which is pretty cool. So check it out. All right, a couple comments on Steam It. False flag, as expected, says RFARDIM. Somebody else says fake. Everything is fake. Fake tears, fake white helmets. Yeah, you do have a point there. A lot of what the white helmets do is fake. It's completely in the genre of hoax.
Propaganda.
It's propaganda. Yeah, it's straight up propaganda. In fact, our good
Yeah.
friend James Corbett has done an excellent expose on the white helmets. In fact, I think
Yes.
I may have it here. Let me see. Here, let me show it to you on the screen real quick. Let me see if I have it here. Yes, this one. It's called "The White Helmets Are a Propaganda Construct." Um, Published February 9th, 2018. This is an excellent 34-minute, plays like a documentary video exposing the White Helmets as the terrorist organization that they are, and as the fake phonies that they are for setting up these false rescues. So yeah, strongly encourage that. I will throw a link to that right now in the chat window, so you guys can check that out. Go head on over to the chat window. Boom, there you go, and give that a watch. That is a video from our good friend James Corbett, where, man, he really nailed it. All of the false, the acting, the hoax material, the fake rescues, all of it is being exposed in that excellent expose. Somebody here, Lee, says, Lee, your cameraman helped me decide to get my own gimbal. What are they?
Oh, he's talking about Tyrone.
Ah, okay. What's a gimbal?
Yeah. Well, he had the handheld. It's kind of like a gimbal. The photo that I took of
Hmm.
the it's kind of like a gimbal, but it holds your cell phone and it makes like really cinematic moves. He used it for the video that I did for the sex ed curriculum protest that I attended. That was promoted by Planned Parenthood, where we were confronted by um, some crazy people for asking questions about their signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that is. I'm so glad you went to that, because oh man, we need a voice of reason at these types of events. And for people who don't know that, won't fill them in a little bit on what was going on there. There was a protest, and then some counter protesters going on, and then you just kind of showed up to document things and found yourself being chanted at as being a Nazi or something to that effect.
Yeah, apparently, if you are against abortion, you're now a Nazi. So I guess it was because of Doug Ford's. He reverted back to the 1998 sex ed curriculum
Right.
as of right now until they talk to parents. They want the parents to be more involved in designing this sex ed curriculum that they're going to indoctrinate kids with. I don't actually agree at all that the government or a school should be teaching children that at all. I think that should be part of the family nucleus. I think it should be the parents' responsibility solely, not the government or these indoctrination camps to teach children about this sort of thing. But that's neither here nor there. Planned Parenthood was promoting a protest in Ottawa, and yes, I did show up with a few friends, and there were signs like, these people are for abortion, but yet their signs were saying things like "Stop killing children" for votes, and that was kind of contradictory to me. So we were asking them questions. What does your sign mean? Why are you here? Why are you against the sex ed curriculum? That Doug Ford has reverted back to in 1999. They were pro Kathleen Wynne. Yeah, we were just called Nazis and bigots for asking questions. And the police were also out of hand. And I find it interesting because these police officers, they're working overtime when they're doing these protests. They actually get to pick which protests that they want to go to. So a lot of the time they're going to be, taking a paycheck for something that they wouldn't mind hanging out at, right? So when people like me show up to ask questions, I have a feeling this police officer was kind of in line with these protesters and kind of favored these protesters because we were shut down as Canadians. We had a right in our Charter of Rights to be there. And when I brought that up to the police officer, he was just not having it. He was, he pushed all of us to the side, like kind of like go away and silencing our freedom of speech instead of, we were just engaging in like, regular conversation. We weren't hostile. We were just, a lot of the time it's the left, in order to call them for a lack of better term, they get really upset when you challenge their ideas or, you kind of present facts to them. They don't like that. So it resulted in this guy actually becoming the victim, and he started crying that we were asking questions, and we were all supposed to feel sorry for him, I guess. But yeah, I think it's important to challenge these ideas and kind of make people think about the indoctrination that or the brainwashing that they've been subjected to, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big time. Big time. And as I recall from watching your live video, the cop must have been heavily brainwashed himself, as you said, because he just took the side of the tolerant left, who was screaming fascist and racist at you, and he just said, well, you should leave because you are causing a disturbance. And it's like, my mere presence is causing disturbance? No, I have a right to be here too. So that was just crazy.
Exactly. I was filming. We were just filming. If that caused a disturbance, filming. We were also assaulted. I was pushed, and the cop was like getting into our faces and stuff like that. It was crazy. And he was the only cop doing so. The rest of the police officers were kind of just minding their own business, keeping the peace as they should, not inflicting their power on us. They were just kind of like just existing as they should. Not being bullies. So crazy times.
All right, I'm going to double check back on the YouTube chat, see if we got any more questions coming in. I see a lot of comments, but not a whole heck of a lot of questions. Cher M says, how do we protest this? Well, not sure if you're referring to the Toronto shooting or the white helmets that we have kind of started talking about now. In any way that works for you. I mean, I personally am not much of a protester myself anymore, but I encourage people to get out in the streets and to do that. One of the best things to do is to, do a search for meetups in your area. Meetup.com is one that I used to use back in the day to find all the like-minded people in my area. And then, and sometimes it's a good idea to do a search on Facebook for rallies and protests based on that specific topic in your area, and then you can find them that way as well. Leigh, do you have any tips or tricks for how to find when and where these protests are going on, so these people know when to be at them?
I use Twitter. Twitter is great for searching hashtags, and it's real time. And a lot of people use Twitter now over Facebook because of the surveillance that Twitter is the same, but more people are apt to go to Twitter. It's just a quick, you can just do 140 characters or whatever update. It's easy to share information and get the word out there. So I just literally search hashtags for specific things. Like I'll search, for instance, that sex ed curriculum protest. I just typed in sex ed curriculum and just scrolled through, and a lot of the time there'll be talks of protests and stuff like that. So Twitter, I use Twitter.
That's a great call. Yeah, I should have thought of that. I was just going to say that I need to call you back because your screen froze, but it looks like we're good again. I think you're unfrozen now, so we're good. Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed someone in the chat. I noticed someone in the chat is asking about Bill Blair. This is a great topic that we kind of skimmed over about the illegal immigrants coming in, and Justin Trudeau appointing Bill Blair, who used to be the chief of police for Toronto,
Mm-hmm.
to the he's been assigned to basically monitor the illegal immigrant problem that Canada doesn't have. Um, Ahmed Hussein and Justin Trudeau and Gerald Butts have all come out and said that Canada doesn't have an irregular migrant problem.
Oh, yeah.
But clearly we do, because they had to appoint somebody. They had to appoint somebody to monitor these illegal immigrants coming over into our country.
And he
So
is
yes,
just
that's his job.
he's just nothing but bad news. I mean, I knew something was wrong when he was appointed basically the drug czar to head up legalization for cannabis in Canada. I mean, how hypocritical can you be to have spent the last 2 decades putting people behind bars for a victimless crime, and then now you're going to be the go-to point man for legalization? It's just unreal what we're dealing with there in Toronto. Man, oh man. Blair is awful, and as anybody who's been following the Toronto police will know, it is very Freemasonic. If you go down to the headquarters, you'll see a lot of Freemasonic imagery and symbolism. And I've spoken to, retired police officers who have told me firsthand, personally, that if you want to advance within the force in Toronto, they have told him that you got to be a Mason. If you want to get up the ranks, if you want to ever become the chief of police someday, you're never going to get to that position unless you join in Freemasonry. And he wasn't interested in that. So he went to York Regional instead of Durham Police or Peel or something like that, and decided not to join the Masons, and didn't really raise up the ranks in the police force. That's how it is in Toronto. So Bill Blair,
Well,
I would not be surprised if he's, high ranking, 32nd or 33rd degree maybe.
mm,
Yeah, that's our police chief, Bill Blair. Although now it is Saunders, and I don't really know a whole lot about the new guy. But it's pretty safe to say if you're the chief of police of Toronto, you don't exactly have the cleanest background.
yeah, I mean, Toronto police are one of the most corrupt you can get, I'd say.
Donald Myrtle says, "Don't you think the white helmets will be used in Canada to stir terrorism so the UN could step in to take over the country?" um, they don't even need to use the white helmets for that at this point. There's so much going on in here. They could just say we're coming in. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, Donald. We have to be very, very, very careful about what the plans are here. I mean, Justin Trudeau has a reintegration program for ISIS fighters. I mean, what's the motivation there? I mean, and I remember getting a tip about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now, from a very, very credible source who told me that there were homeless shelters in Quebec and Montreal and in that area where these veterans who were staying in the homeless shelters were saying that undercover CSIS agents were coming in there to recruit mentally unstable homeless people into ISIS. This is something
Well,
that, yeah.
and that's perfect, because now the illegals coming in are now in homeless shelters. They're also renting out hotels and housing these illegals coming over. They're going to be building tents. So that's perfect. I mean, if you're saying that CSIS agents are going undercover looking for people who are going to join ISIS, that coincides perfectly for their plan. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
It's order out of chaos is the modus operandi, and sometimes you have to generate that chaos. I mean, sometimes the terrorism has to be orchestrated, and it may very well just mean, coddling and shaping and molding and coercing a target into being the scapegoat, the fall man, so that they can either save the day by foiling a terror plot, by stopping something before it happened, or as we saw in the case with the Canada Day bombing with Corredy and Nuttall, I believe their names were. They were completely set up by the RCMP and CSIS. Same with the guy in Montreal, came out of a mentally health, a mental health institute, and he was going around in shelters and things of that nature. CSIS are looking for these types of guys to try to coddle them, create them, mold them, shape them, create them into being this terrorist that they are going to, pose as the savior of, that they stopped, the big boogeyman from attacking Canada here. Meanwhile, it's all stemming from the government, the Canadian government, CSIS, and to a large extent the RCMP as well.
I agree.
All right, so I'm not getting any more questions, it doesn't look like, in the YouTube chat window. I apologize if I've skipped over yours. I'm just scanning through now. I don't see a whole lot of question marks. Here's one. From Kat. Where are they going to house the university immigrants? Dan? The university immigrants? Not sure what you're referring to there, but if you mean the white helmets, that's
I
yeah.
think
Mm-hmm.
I think because that they're housing the illegal immigrants at some universities in Canada. Maybe they mean like once the universities are back in September, where are the illegals going to go? I know that they're erecting 4 tents in Toronto to house the illegal immigrants. So I don't know if that's what they're referring to.
We got Lawrence McCurry in the chat. What's up, brother? He says Trudeau's father was a globalist pick as well. Absolutely, that's for sure.
Yeah. He was the Justin Trudeau was the first. Pierre Trudeau was the first one to talk about multiculturalism and diversity. He was the first one to do it. He's the original commie.
Yeah. Oh man, that old clip of him where that journalist gets him at Parliament Hill, talking about I think it was in regards to gun confiscation, and he says how far are you willing to take this, when it comes to restricting, bowling over the rights of the Canadian people, and his famous response was, "Just watch me," like
Yeah.
kind of like, try me, let's see. Just watch how far I'm going to go. Well, his son is going way out of bounds with destroying this country on the trans rights issue, the LGBTQ community, the feminist issues. He has just completely destroyed this nation. So, yeah, pretty interesting. But, it is interesting to me that his father was a member of the Bilderberg group. He was invited. And every prime minister ever since Pierre Elliott Trudeau has attended Bilderberg, but it seems that the young Justin has not, apparently. I've asked him a number of times. I've been there, many times, every year since 2012. I first went in 2006, and I've never seen him there. Quite curious to me still that young Justin has not been at Bilderberg just yet, at least not that I know of. Cat's wondering about any Bilderberg updates. Yeah, speaking of Bilderberg, I wonder if he's going to be there next year, or if Bilderberg has just kind of skipped over Justin Trudeau.
I have a feeling Bilderberg is going to be in Canada next year.
It's they are due for that. It's the last time it was here was like 12 years ago. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do have it in Canada, and it would probably be in a really remote location, like something like Montebello, Quebec, or something like that, or who knows? Maybe
I
I'll
was gonna
luck
say
out.
Charlevoix, where they had the G7
Yeah, 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 true. Or
in Quebec City. Yeah.
maybe somewhere out here on the west coast. Which would be cool for me for a change. I wouldn't have to travel so far to cover Bilderberg. Um, okay, gonna hop on back to the chat and quickly scroll through, see if we got any more questions. I'm not seeing too many more questions, so we may wrap this up fairly soon. How long have we been going here, Leigh? 45 minutes. That's not too bad. Would you predict waves of terror attacks in Toronto from those white helmets to kill people in the Western world to get the Canadian Army an excuse to invade and attack Syria with the Allies? Asks Ultra Paul 99. Again, this is something that we have to be vigilant of. I mean, I absolutely would not put it past the Canadian government, the CSIS, the black ops within the Canadian government, let's say, the criminal elements, to pull off some sort of false flag terror attack in order to justify an all-out invasion of another Middle Eastern country. Absolutely, that's possible. In fact, ISIS themselves warned that they would embed themselves within the immigrants and the migrants that were going to be coming to Canada. I'm talking about the original 25,000 that are already here. So there's a good chance that there's already some things in the works to happen here in Canada right now as a direct result of the Canadian government's immigration policy. So yeah, absolutely, we have to be on the lookout for that. Sharp Flat says Yellowstone white helmets seem to be it. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Remember the 20 million CF donation? Yeah, the 20 million donation to the terrorists.
Oh, the Clinton Foundation.
Oh,
Clinton Foundation.
Clinton Foundation. Yes. Yeah, good point. Stan.
I actually yelled at Trudeau about that.
You yelled at Trudeau. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, you did that at the town hall. That's when you, yeah. That's right. That was awesome.
Yeah, and then there's also anonymous donations. I mean, you did a video on the Trudeau Foundation. That's another one that a lot of people overlook. Look into that one.
Yeah, the Trudeau Foundation, getting to the pay-to-play politics that are, people have recognized in the Clinton Foundation, but they don't see that the same thing goes on here in Canada. And I expose that in my, I guess you could call it a film. It plays like a short documentary. What was that one called again? I forget the names of my own videos. I got the Trudeau Deception, which deals with, the Trudeau Foundation Exposed is the one that deals with the pay-to-play politics. And then the Trudeau Deception deals with the legalization of cannabis and the kind of monopolization of the industry behind the scenes. Got another question in here from Cher M. Do you think Ford is corrupt? Well, what do you think, Leigh? Well, first of all, I mean, as the Bible says, you judge a man by his fruits, and if you want to see is somebody corrupt, well, you look at what is he producing, what is he doing with his time, and so far, what has he done? Well, he's gone after the carbon tax. He's scrapped Kathleen Wynne's brutal sex ed curriculum. Those are a couple pretty good things, in my opinion. I think he's off to a good start, but, is he corrupt? I'm going to have to just say, yeah, he's a politician. All politicians are corrupt to some extent. Don't put your hope and faith in him if that's what you're wondering. But no, I don't think he's like controlled opposition or anything of that nature. I think he's the real deal. We may see some other good things happening under Ford. It's definitely hands down better than Wynne. What do you think, Leigh?
100% way better than Wynne. And I went to a few of Doug Ford's town halls, and I'm happy to see that he has so far kept the promises that he was saying on his campaign trail. And I did talk to him about what he thought about what he was going to do in Ontario for when legalization of marijuana came about. Thinking about it after, I was like, oh, his family has ties to marijuana, and maybe he thought I was trolling him a little bit because he didn't really seem very receptive to that question. But the general feeling that I get from him is that his intent is good right now. That's until maybe, down the road, things might get a little wishy-washy and like you said, he is a politician, so you can't trust him 100%. But I think his intention is good, and he challenges Justin Trudeau, so I like that. And what he's saying about the illegal immigration issue. I can't really complain. We dealt with Wynne for too long, and now kind of cleaning up her mess. So can't complain.
Yeah, I agree. And it's a big, big, nasty mess that she left behind. So he's got his work cut out for him. Let's just say that. And so it's going to be interesting to continue to follow that one. Somebody says, do you guys have a sense as to what our next federal election will play out? It should be interesting. I think that, I've for a while now been talking about the fact that it seems that the Liberals were potentially going to use the legalization ticket as a way in again. However, now they've slated legalization for October 17th. Mind you, that might not necessarily happen. I mean, they continuously change that date. So I'm going to stick with it. I think it's still possible that, we could see Trudeau campaigning on the legalization ticket once again, saying it was out of his hands, but this time he'll make it happen. What are your thoughts, Leigh, for upcoming federal election?
As much as I like to think that we have control who is elected, federally, I think federally these prime ministers and presidents are selected, and I'm not 100% convinced that Scheer is going to be the one to come out on top. To be honest, I think we might be seeing Trudeau again, as much as we don't want him in. I think the mass immigration plays into that, because there's a bill that is sitting idle by the Liberals that says that people can vote as long as another Canadian vouches for the person that's voting, that they have residency here. So is that the mass immigration, is that gonna play into votes for Trudeau? I don't know. And it's quite scary to think about that we're actually going to be stuck with this guy for much longer. I'm hoping for a miracle, maybe, because the way Canada's going right now, I can't imagine what it's going to be like in another 3 years. So
yeah. Well, hopefully this trend of people starting to snap out of the delusion is going to continue, because more people have been voting libertarian in Canada over the last few years. There is some momentum. There is a bit of a trend moving away from liberalism and conservatism. towards more libertarian principles. So that's a good thing. I, for one, am more of what you would call an anarcho-capitalist. I've never voted ever in my life, and I'm proud of that. I've not contributed to this nasty system of control. I'm more of the voluntarist mindset where I just don't want anything to do with this, and I choose to disassociate myself with it all and kind of just not comply and step out of it and say, you go at it, have your thing, I'll do my own thing. And that's where I stand on it. So yeah, I will certainly not be voting in anyone in the upcoming federal election, even if it's the lesser of the two evils.
Right. I wonder, because I know for the provincial election, you're allowed to spoil your ballot. And they actually keep track of that. I know that was a thing for the Ontario election, but I wonder if you can do that federally. If you don't necessarily want to vote for the left or right false paradigm, because you're kind of picking from the two evils.
Mm-hmm.
If you still want to exercise your right to vote because you feel like that's what your forefathers fought for, and I 100% agree with that. I like to think that we're in a democracy, but are we really? Probably not. But there's no proof of that. I mean, can I prove that? But I wonder if you can federally, if you can, as a vote of non-compliance, spoil your ballot, and that they keep track of that. I don't know. That's something to look into for sure.
Either way,
you don't want to vote for either.
Yeah.
Or vote libertarian.
I do like the idea of spoiling the ballot. It sends a message that you made an effort, you made the point to come out to say, I don't like any of these options.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that says a lot. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to do for sure. All right. I'm going to quickly head on over to the Steam It. We cannot forget about those guys. I'll do one more quick refresh on that. And then see if we got any more questions. Somebody says, never forget, gullibility is the new plague of the 21st century. Do you agree? Sure. Yeah, people are pretty gullible these days. And that
I'd
is
say.
it. Yeah. That is it for questions on the Steam It. All right, guys. We're going on about an hour here, it looks like. So it may be time to wrap this one up. Unless we get any last-minute questions in, but I don't think so. Leigh, thank you once again for joining us on short notice to talk about the White Helmet relocation, to talk about the Toronto shooting, to talk about your Planned Parenthood protest where you were called a Nazi and a fascist, and of course, we're going to be looking forward to more of your coverage. So yeah, what else do you have on the horizon? Is there anything that you're working on right now for a upcoming PFT video?
Anything can happen, and I've learned that in this day and age. I don't have anything specifically planned right now, but there are a few protests that I'm keeping my eyes on that will be going on in Toronto potentially. So that could be for August. I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, I mean, I could be anywhere. I'm known for just picking up and going. So
Awesome. Yep.
if anyone in the chat or anyone watching this knows of anything going on in the vicinity of like Toronto or the East Coast, let me know on Twitter. I'm always, if you know a protest or something that you want covered on Press for Truth, let me know, and I'll try to be there to cover it. Absolutely.
Yes, please do. And your screen has frozen once again, so I think it's a good time to call it. So
look, my eyes are closed.
Yeah, your eyes are closed. So there, I'll take you off the screen, and I will replace replace you with Kaiser here so that the people can see this cute little guy's face as we close out the show. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. If you appreciate our efforts and you want to support our work, please check the links in the description to where you can donate. You can contribute at pressfortruth.ca/donate. There you can pitch in through PayPal or various cryptocurrencies. You can sign up as a PFT patron. You can become a PFT member. You can join the Patreon alternative link if you don't want to go through Patreon. But any one of those will help us be able to continue to do the traveling that we do, to cover the events that we do, and to continue to bang out videos, as many as we can all week long. So on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. Kaiser's going to say goodbye. Leigh, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thanks, Dan.
yeah, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll talk to you again soon.